The hidden danger that could ruin the Celtics. They have it all. The best record, the best players, and a champion's confidence freshly crowned. The Boston Celtics are, without a doubt, the most dominant team in the NBA right now. But what if I told you that something dark could put this entire journey at risk? Imagine getting so close to the top, only to be stopped by something that no one can control. The Celtics, favorites to win the 2024 title, are trapped in a financial snare, and the culprit is the new NBA Collective Bargaining Agreement, CBA. The rule designed to control big spenders is suffocating teams like Boston. The situation is more serious than you think. How the CBA is destroying key moves. With the new CBA, any team over the second luxury tax threshold, where the Celtics are buried $7.7 million, faces brutal restrictions. They can't bundle smaller contracts to acquire a bigger player. They can't even take on more salary than they send out in a trade. In other words, Boston is stuck. NBA finance expert Brian Toporek nailed it. If the Celtics don't want to touch one of their core pieces, Tatum, Brown, Holiday, Porzingis, White, Horford, or Pritchard, they are locked. Seems simple? It's not. If Boston wants to move the bench, players like Jaden Springer, with a $4 million salary, are their only options. The return? A minimum contract player, which wouldn't make any difference. Are they doomed to stay still? Under the old CBA, teams could game the system, trade players and receive up to 125% of the salary sent. Not anymore. While other franchises are seizing this window to bolster their teams, the Celtics watch, hands tied. And the worst part? With each victory, the weight of being the favorite increases. Is this roster ready to withstand the test of time? Should they bet on what they have? With stars like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Drew Holiday, the Boston Celtics already have an enviable roster. The defense is solid. The offense is lethal. The experience is undeniable. Still, any injury or failure at a critical moment could be enough to destroy their dreams of a back-to-back championship. So, what to do? If the CBA has tied Boston's hands, maybe staying put is their only option. But here's the dark truth. Not making a move could be just as risky as trying the impossible. A wrong decision could sink the Boston Celtics. The scenario is frightening. The Boston Celtics, one of the favorites for the title, have an empty spot on their roster. While other teams are strengthening their squads and the trade deadline approaches, the Celtics have yet to make a decision. To make matters worse, the shadows of injuries are once again haunting the team. Kristaps Porzingis felt a problem in the last game and was forced to leave the court. He says it's nothing serious, but the fans know the truth. The season has already shown that any slip-up could be fatal. With a roster that seems to be on the edge, the big question arises. How will Boston protect its season? A simple and cheap solution in the main Celtics. Brad Stevens may be looking at the solution without realizing it. In recent games, Drew Peterson, a standout for the main Celtics, has been gaining attention and surprising people. The 25-year-old forward has already had opportunities this season and shown potential. 30.8% from three-point range. Effective off-ball movement. Ability to space the floor. Something essential for Mazzulla's system. Chris Forsberg from NBC Sports Boston was direct. Peterson is a low-risk move and could be the missing piece for Boston to fill out the roster. Peterson wouldn't come in as a star, but to fill the gaps. His role? To ensure that, if Porzingis or another starter gets injured, the Celtics have enough depth to stay competitive. The clock is ticking. The Celtics don't have much time to decide. The trade deadline on February 6th is just around the corner, and the empty roster spot is still a weak point. While rivals are making moves, Boston must choose. Will they risk a promising season or make a move before it's too late? So, Brad Stevens. Is Drew Peterson the piece that will save the Celtics? Or will ignoring him cost the title? The news that took Kristaps Porzingis by surprise. It was a morning like any other for Kristaps Porzingis, until fate imposed a devastating reality upon him. With his recovery finally completed, the Latvian giant was experiencing a glorious return to the NBA. In just 7 games, he had achieved impressive numbers, leading the Boston Celtics to a winning streak. But what happened on Tuesday morning would change everything for him and many others around the world. The clock had barely struck the early hours of the morning when tragic news struck the heart of Porzingis. Janis Timma, his compatriot and former Orlando Magic G League player, was found dead. At 32 years old, Timma, who had spent most of his career playing in European leagues, was found under heartbreaking circumstances. A death by suicide. The pain was instant, and Porzingis couldn't contain the flood of emotions. His first reaction? A message on X, which was soon deleted, but its impact spread. This tragedy is not just a loss for the sport, but for everyone who knew and loved Timma. Fans from around the world, including many who followed him in the G League, left messages of support, not just for Giannis's family, but also for Porzingis. After all, as strong as he may be, even the greatest champions face moments of unbearable pain. Orlando Magic pays tribute. It didn't take long for the Orlando Magic to express their feelings, sharing their deep sorrow over Timma's untimely passing. The team fondly remembered his time in the G League, where Timma proved his worth. The pain of this loss is not limited to Porzingis' circle, but also to those who followed Timma throughout his career. The impact on Porzingis and the Celtics. What happens to the Celtics now? How can such a personal loss affect Porzingis on the court? He's not just a player, he's a human being, and this tragedy may be more difficult than any physical pain he has ever felt. How will the Celtics handle this emotional burden as they prepare for the rest of the season? Will Porzingis be able to maintain focus and mental strength to continue shining on the court, or will the pain of this loss become something irreparable? What's next for Porzingis? It was supposed to be a night of celebration, an easy victory over the worst team in the NBA, the Washington Wizards. The Boston Celtics seemed unbeatable, dominating the game from the start with a 22-point lead and winning 112-98. The performance was flawless, a reflection of the total dominance of the champions in a matchup against the Wizards, who barely managed to put up any resistance. But while the victory seemed to guarantee another positive round for the team, something dark and concerning was happening behind the scenes. Amid the celebration, an unexpected shadow appeared. Kristaps Porzingis, the Latvian giant, suffered a foot injury early in the game. The player, who has a history of injuries and had missed 19 games this season, had to leave the court after just 11 minutes of play. Not only did he lose his rhythm, but he also put the future of his season, and the team's, at risk. What's happening with Porzingis? After weeks of recovering from an ankle injury that almost kept him out of the 2024 finals, Porzingis seemed to have finally found his balance. But the injury didn't come alone. When describing the pain, the Celtics center spoke about heel pain, a familiar yet concerning feeling. Although he claimed that the injury wasn't serious, his words couldn't erase the fear. He even said it was more of a precaution than a real injury. But is it really that simple? While the Latvian giant tries to remain calm, the fear of a major injury spreads quickly. After all, his injury history is no secret. Ankle, knee, and other critical body parts have cost the athlete and the team dearly. His career has been marked by a lack of continuity, raising the question: can the Celtics count on him for the entire season? The team hasn't released more information, but everyone is on edge. Will Porzingis be ready for the crucial matchup against the Chicago Bulls on December 19th? A new threat to the Celtics season. Porzingis has only 10 seasons in the NBA, but the injury mark has haunted his career. After missing the 2018 to 2019 season due to an ACL tear, he has never been able to stay healthy for an entire season. The question now is whether he can withstand the demands of a full season with such physical instability. In the 2023 to 2024 season, his first with the Celtics, he was essential to their 64-win record and Eastern Conference leadership. However, with the 2024 to 2025 season on the line, the question is no longer just about how much time he can play. It's whether the Celtics can continue their title campaign with such an unpredictable physical player. Will Porzingis' injury be just a temporary setback, or could this be the end of his and the Celtics' hopes of winning another title? Hey Celtics fanatics! What do you think of this news? Leave your opinion in the comments, as it's highly valued.